It's Tuesday outside the Goog, Vanderbilt week. Brian Kelly just met with the media, talking a lot about Vanderbilt and their offensive weapons. He was asked about, in the aftermath of Ball State, where they are, and he said the panic button isn't anywhere near his desk. And from a head coach's perspective, after coming out with a win, I understand where he's coming from. That button may be a little bit closer for people on the outside, or for you and me.
It is for me, but I like it because it's the game story. It is. I do not believe an offensive line will improve that much in 1 week from what we saw against Ball State. And they weren't great against Michigan, but they were better against a great defense. So 2 weeks where they kind of struggle, relatively speaking. Can they just all of a sudden be very good? I don't think so, but obviously I'm nowhere near as close to the situation as Kelly, but I am going to go through this week believing that they still have problems with the offensive line. I think they will play better than they did against Ball State, but they're also facing better competition. So it is a question that cannot be answered by me until we see it Saturday night. I'm just on the opposite side of it.
Well, definitely SEC competition, and Brian Kelly talked about that. And the problem for Notre Dame's offensive line this week is they're facing a defensive front that is second in the country, or a defense in general that's second in the country in sacks. Now, albeit against Middle Tennessee and Nevada, but still 9 sacks in 2 games. And then offensively, I think he makes a good point. Kyle Shermer's an SEC quarterback that's faced a lot of quality SEC competition, so he's going to come into Notre Dame Stadium fearless. He's got a couple receivers. Lipscomb has looked good to me on film. Pinckney, a tight end. Brian Kelly says an NFL-type prospect, and a bunch of running backs. A real challenge for Notre Dame, even though not an upper echelon SEC school.
It's question number 2 for me, because I was asked this week, how does Notre Dame's defense handle veteran quarterbacks? And I thought, well, they handled Ryan Finley easily. And is Rozier from Miami a veteran? Because that was one of their worst games, and KJ Costello's a freshman, and he lit him up. But Sam Darnold's the 4th pick of the draft, and he destroyed Sam Darnold. So I don't really know if it has anything to do with a veteran quarterback. I will say the veteran quarterback coming in that has seen 30 games, it's not an advantage over Notre Dame's defense because they have great pressure, but he should be able to handle what he sees in the game.
Yeah, and 4 touchdown passes and no interceptions. Yeah. Coming into this game, so it'll be interesting. On the other side of the ball for Notre Dame defensively, I thought Brian Kelly made some interesting comments. He was asked about the running game, or defending the run, and why they've been so good. They haven't given up an explosive play yet. And he said second-level tackling, which is why Drew Tranquill is now in the middle with Tavon Coney. Those two are outstanding. But it also starts with the defensive line. The term that he uses being conscientious. In other words, doing your job, staying in your lanes. That's a hard sell for a lot of young players, but I think it's working for Notre Dame.
Yeah, I think Tavon Coney is the team MVP so far, but if they didn't keep him clean, he wouldn't have a chance to be. And that usually is what happens when you're a middle linebacker in any defense. You see these guys that just have a knack for cleaning up runs. They're not doing that if they have a bunch of guys to deal with at the second level. So the team effort, and I'm glad he talked about the safeties are tackling better this year, because it was exactly this point last year where you could kind of blame Jalen Elliott and Asmar Bilal for a long run against Georgia was why Notre Dame wasn't about number 2 at this point last season, and you haven't seen that this year.
From an injury standpoint, no real revelation on Cole Kmet. Brian Kelly talked about him on Sunday. They will take the field for the first time today, so they'll know more. It's a high ankle sprain. You don't like to hear that, because those usually are a little bit problematic, but other than that, Notre Dame should be in pretty good shape when they take on Vanderbilt this weekend in Notre Dame Stadium.